Thank you for joining us online today to learn more about the NYU Stern Executive MBA program in New York. My name is Heather McDaniel. I am part of the admissions team for the Executive MBA program. I've worked with the Executive MBA admissions team at Stern for a little over 6 years. I host events, conduct applicant interviews, and I really enjoy helping candidates and getting to meet candidates on their journey to higher education and beyond. The presentation tonight will last roughly 30 minutes. We'll have some time at the end to answer any questions, so you can feel free to use the submit questions using the Q&A feature throughout the presentation, but I will save answering them until the end. And if you do have questions specific to your candidacy or application, I would encourage you to reach out to our team directly, and I'll share contact information at the end. Also, I will be speaking specifically about the Executive MBA program in New York City, but I do just want to note that we also offer the Executive MBA program in Washington, D.C., with the primary variance being a once-a-month schedule in D.C. versus the every other week schedule in New York City. And we'll get more into what that means in just a moment. Great. So without further ado, just want to kick it off with looking at a snapshot of the Executive MBA program structure. So we offer two start terms each year, January and August. The program is roughly the same regardless of which start term you choose. It's really all about what timing works best for you. So we just kicked off a January start. So the most immediate upcoming start term is for August 2025, but we are already also accepting applications for the following January, so January 2026 start. So it's never too soon to start your exploration and kicking off this process. The program takes roughly 22 months to complete. Classes are held every other Friday and Saturday from about 9 to 5 p.m. And we'll see a breakdown of what a typical class day looks like in just a few slides. There are two required 1 week residencies in the first year. The first is an orientation week, which takes place at the start of the program. The orientation week, it's a full week of days and overnights. It's coming together with your cohort for the first time. It typically takes place offsite at a conference center. And during that week, you start taking classes. There are team building exercises, panel sessions, networking events in the evening. So really a great introduction to the program and helps get you acclimated relatively quickly. And then the second residency, required residency, it's the global immersion experience, which is part of your core curriculum in the first year. And we'll touch on that a bit more in a few slides. The program is completed in approximately the same time as pursuing the MBA degree full-time, and regardless of which MBA program you pursue at Stern, all graduates are earning an MBA in general management from NYU Stern. So academics are the cornerstone of the Executive MBA program. Our curriculum, it's designed to give you a strong foundation, but also allow you to follow your own interests. The core curriculum is completed in the first year of the program. So it provides, like I said, that strong foundation in all of the key areas of business, such as finance, accounting, marketing, strategy. And then in the second year of the program, you'll be taking electives. And this is the opportunity to really build upon the foundation or explore different areas of interest. And depending on the electives that you take, you may specialize in up to 3 different areas. Specializing, it's flexible, it's not required. You can either choose your electives based on the specializations you'd like to declare, or you can simply choose electives of interest and declare a specialization after the fact. So again, that's not something that you have to choose up front. You can simply choose your electives. You can make that decision as you go through your second year. The decision is entirely up to you. And as previously mentioned, all graduates are earning an MBA in general management at the end of the program. So taking a closer look at the Global Immersion Experience, or GIE as we refer to it, They are an opportunity to offer exposure to other global business centers and provide engagement with the business world beyond the classroom. So it's a great opportunity to get out of the classroom, take learning to another global business center. And it's also a really great opportunity to build on the camaraderie within the cohort as well. The whole cohort is traveling to the same destination. And during the GIE, students are participating in company visits, they're meeting with business leaders. It is an individual course, so you're visiting companies across different industries and meeting with people across various functions. The GIE, so it's a week-long international residency, which takes place about 6 months into the program. The faculty make the decision on where to go, considering the interest of the class and what's going on in the global economy. And it's usually announced within the first month of the program for the destination. And you can also elect to go on a second global immersion experience in year 2 as part of your electives. And recent classes have visited Warsaw, Colombia, Vietnam, Shanghai, Argentina, Greece, and lots of other various dynamic markets. So the faculty are really who bring the curriculum to life. The executive MBA faculty are hand selected to teach within the executive MBA program, and they're invited based on their experience teaching executive level students. They are also prepared to tailor their education and analysis based on the diversity and depth of experience of the students. So they recognize that not all students coming in have the same background or the area of expertise. So they have to be able to teach based on that. Our small cohort size, so our cohort size is usually about 60 to 65 students, that really allows students to get to know the faculty well. And they tend to be leading experts in their field and really active in the business world. And they're extremely accessible. They're willing to work with students in between class weekends. I've heard many students say that they've been on um, Zoom calls with faculty until late into the evening, and that they're really committed to ensuring that the students grasp the material. So taking a look at the kinds of people you can expect in your executive MBA cohort, one of the hallmarks of the typical executive MBA class really is the diversity of the students. We're seeking experienced professionals from all different backgrounds, functions, and industries, and really creating a unique peer learning environment with students sharing insights from their different experiences. So we really are looking for people who will contribute to the classroom environment. Um, a look at the typical class profile. So the average age is around 37, but this does range. On average, candidates have about 13 years of work experience, but this is also a range. We just ask that candidates typically have a minimum of 6 years of work experience by the start of the program. We have about 33% with international background, 25% with advanced degrees, so very ambitious students who just can't get enough of school, and about 37% female. And as already mentioned, really spanning across a lot of different industries and functions. And so while this is reflective of a typical class profile, it's important to note that there's not a typical executive MBA student. Our students are coming from the world of business, but also from medicine, law, nonprofit, military, the arts. And we've seen people from all types of backgrounds be successful in the program and be able to provide positive contributions to the classroom experience. In the first year of the program, all students are assigned to study groups. Each group is made up of about 5 to 6 students with cross-functional skills. So it gives you the opportunity to leverage others' expertise, to learn from one another, but also to lean on each other for support. It's an extremely collaborative community. And like I mentioned, it really offers a small, close-knit community. So you will get to know the other students in your class extremely well. You're together in intensive sessions during the residency periods and during class weekends, and they can be such a huge support to you throughout your career, but also personally as well. So We recognize your schedule is busy. So we've just structured the program in a way to kind of help with that balance of work life and school. You're only taking 2 courses at a time. So this allows you to master that content and then move on to the next 2 courses. You're generally on campus on Friday and Saturday for the full day. So anywhere from 9 to 5. Breakfast and lunch are provided for you. As mentioned, you have a class in the morning and then a class in the afternoon. The classes last 3 hours with a 30-minute break, which is a good time to either address email if you need to, connect with classmates, chat with the faculty. And then there's often executive MBA or Stern-wide events in the evenings, which you're welcome to attend. And there's also so there's a dedicated student support team that handles the logistics of the program so that you're able to focus on your other priorities. They are the team that registers you for classes. They deliver your books and materials on class days. They are coordinating accommodations for the residency periods and for those that are eligible on class weekends. So a lot of the busy work of being a student is taken care of for you so that you can focus on all of your other priorities. But we recognize, so students are not only joining the Executive MBA program to enhance their knowledge and business expertise, but also looking to equip themselves with the tools that's needed to achieve your professional goals. So available to Executive MBA students, it's we have the careers team, so a working professionals team in our careers office, which is dedicated to helping you develop a long-term career plan. You're assigned a career coach when you join the Executive MBA program, and they can help with anything from resume review, interview prep, network coaching. And the career counselors, they're available to meet with you on class days or in between class weekends by phone or video. They also hold workshops and events throughout the 2 years. And we often have current students and alumni from different industries meeting with students to provide insider views. There's also enrichment built right into the curriculum with courses such as leadership and organization and other electives. There's networking events organized as part of the program, as well as with Stern and NYU as a whole. And as you join the program, you also have access to Stern's powerful alumni network with access to over 110,000 alumni in over 130 countries. And as an alumni, you're also able to take advantage of lifelong access to professional development and ongoing learning opportunities. So while you're immersed in the program for 22 months, you join the Stern community for a lifetime and have access to a lot of lifelong benefits. So looking at some of the nitty-gritty details for the program, tuition for the last academic year was roughly $226,000. Tuition is subject to change each academic year. So the next upcoming, so August would be the start of a new academic year. And we recommend budgeting for an increase of anywhere from 3 to 7%. Tuition does cover the entire 22 months of the program. And that's many incidentals, such as, like I mentioned, your books, the materials, accommodations for the residency periods. You're just responsible for travel to and from the residencies and global study to global immersion experience. Figuring out funding for your MBA, it's certainly a big consideration. So we offer a lot of different avenues to help with financial support. So we have a dedicated graduate financial aid team, which is committed to helping you figure out financing. Most students do fund some of their education through loans. So if you're a US citizen or permanent resident, you can complete the free application for federal state student aid, so the FAFSA, and begin that loan process. In addition, on our financial aid website, you can begin to research other options and reach out to the financial aid team directly. And they're happy to provide any information, and their contact information is on our website. We'll also have a webinar later this spring with a financial aid representative, which is a great opportunity to hear more from them about financing options. There are also scholarships available for executive MBA students, and these are awarded by the admissions committee. So all scholarships are partial. We do not award any full tuition scholarships. applicants simply have to indicate on their formal application that they'd like to be considered for a scholarship. There's no specific criteria that guarantees an award. They're all one-time awards which are applied to your first year tuition payments. And if you are awarded a scholarship, it's communicated to you at the same time as admission. So taking a look at that process. So to take the first step in the admissions process, so it's completing the pre-assessment, and our process is it's intended to be straightforward and holistic. There's not one part of your application that will make or break your candidacy. So we recommend that you focus on the entire story that you're presenting to the admissions committee in your application. And that first step being the pre-assessment. And this is essentially you raising your hand and letting us know that you'd like to continue the conversation. Some of you may have already completed this step. For those of you that haven't, we certainly encourage you to do so. Completing the pre-assessment, it should take no more than 10 to 15 minutes to complete, provided you have an up-to-date resume. It just requires answering a few basic questions and uploading your resume. And in the pre-assessment, we're looking to see that you meet our prerequisites of a minimum of 6 years of work experience and hold a bachelor's degree. For those of you that may be on the cusp of 6 years or approaching 6 years right at the start of the program, I'd still encourage you to submit your pre-assessment for review, and our team could be in touch about your candidacy. Once you've submitted a pre-assessment and it's been reviewed by our team, a member of our team would be in touch to clear you for the next step in the process, which is completing your formal application. And the formal application, this includes 2 required essays. There is also an optional essay space, which you can use to address anything you want the admissions committee to know that may not be covered elsewhere in your application. Oftentimes people use this space to cover undergraduate performance if they didn't feel their performance was adequate, or gaps in employment. But again, this is optional, it's not required. Transcripts. So at the time of applying, scanned copies of your transcript are totally fine. You would only need to provide official transcripts if you are admitted and choose to enroll. We require transcripts from all universities in which you earned a degree, so that includes any bachelor's or advanced degrees. For those with international degrees, I always encourage starting that process early just because it can take some time to get. We require that they be translated for language, so for English, but they don't need to be translated to the 4.0 GPA system. We require 2 professional letters of recommendation. We ask that one be from a current supervisor and then another from a past supervisor, colleague, mentor. If you're not able to provide one from a current supervisor, that's totally reasonable. We have that many instances. We would just ask that you provide a brief written statement as to why you're not providing a letter from a current supervisor. And many times, if people are self-employed or they've changed supervisors recently, very justified reasons for not getting one from a current supervisor. The interview, it's another part of your formal application. And so this is an interview with a member of the admissions committee, so someone like myself. And our team would be in touch to schedule this. You can have your interview prior to submitting your formal application. The interview, again, it's formal, it's evaluative, it gives you the opportunity to ask your questions and confirm whether the NYU Stern Executive MBA program is the right fit for you. And like I said, one of the ways in which it's unique for the Stern Executive MBA program is that we do hold the interview prior to your formal application being considered complete, really to give us the opportunity to get to know all of our candidates and have that conversation as to why you might be a good fit for the program. The interviews are generally held by Zoom. They can be held in person if you would like to request. And they typically last about 30 to 45 minutes. Sponsorship form. So providing proof of this is optional, but we do encourage you to have a conversation with your employer, as the program does require time out of the office for class weekends and for residency periods. So just having that conversation and letting them know what you're looking to pursue up front. Standardized tests, so GMAT, GRE, executive assessment, these are all optional. We're looking more at previous coursework, your career, as indicators for success. If you weren't able to demonstrate, academic or quantitative preparedness for the MBA program, a standardized test score could be a good way to do this. And so there's also other preparatory courses that could demonstrate this as well. This is a great area if you are questioning whether or not you should take a standardized test or submit some additional academic preparedness documentation. Then we would suggest discussing this with your interviewer. The application fee, so that's typically processed through our site. However, as a thank you for joining us this evening, you should receive a follow-up email with an application fee code included. So just be sure to submit that when you're submitting your application. Great. So deadlines for the August and January start terms are noted. These are, you could think of these more as benchmarks. We accept and render decisions on a rolling basis. So you can submit your application at any time up until the deadline. And once we've received your completed application, it's reviewed by the admissions committee, and decisions are typically made within 3 to 4 weeks. So again, the deadlines here are, we have a first and a final deadline that are suggestions for submitting your application. We certainly encourage the earlier the better. That's when we have more space available in the class. That's also when we have more scholarship funds available. So the most immediate upcoming deadline for the August start term is March 1st, the final deadline being May 15th. But again, we do rolling admission, so you can submit your application at any time up until the deadline. And then our team is happy to help throughout the process. It can be a high touch process. We're happy to work with you if you have questions along the way. So you can feel free to reach out to us either by email or by phone. Also, you can visit our website and look for a lot of the information there. And we're also hosting a number of events over the spring semester. There will be student panels. There's opportunities for you to join us for networking receptions and hear from current students. There's also opportunity to hear from people of different backgrounds. So feel free to take a look at our website for upcoming events. And if you haven't already, certainly encourage you to kick off the process and take that first step by submitting your free pre-assessment. Like I said, that should take only about 10 to 15 minutes to complete. Just answering a few basic questions and uploading your resume. So kick off that process if you haven't already. And now I'm going to take a look at some of the questions that have come through. I will try to get to as many of them as possible. Again, if you have questions specific to your candidacy, I encourage you to reach out to the team directly. Otherwise, like I said, I'll try to get to as many questions in the question that are submitted as possible. So feel free to submit some questions. Great. A great question here about the application and weighting different pieces. No, your application, there's no weighting based on the different parts of the application. It is reviewed holistically. There's not, like I said, one piece of your application that would make or break your candidacy. We're really looking that you tell a clear, concise, and cohesive story across your application. I certainly encourage you to put time. We often hear people really enjoy the process because it allows them to be reflective and think about, their true motivations for pursuing an executive MBA. But then, once you've spent that time, you've done the proofreading and you've worked with your recommenders, just make sure that you hit submit, because that can be a holdup. A lot of people are really working on their application until perfection. So we just encourage you to make sure you don't forget to hit submit. Great. And then a question about that years of work experience. Like I said, typically nets out an average of around 13, but it truly is a range. We have many candidates that do fall right at the 6 year work experience. And perhaps they've advanced quickly throughout their career. They have really good experience within those 6 years, so they do still make great candidates and very successful in the program and able to provide a lot of great contributions. So even for those right on the cusp, again, I encourage you to submit your pre-assessment, and we're happy to review. Great. A question about the structure of the program. So yes, our program is in person, so on site, both Friday and Saturday, every other week. Our calendars are listed. So the calendar for the upcoming August start term is listed on the website. So you could see all of those class weekends and have a good assessment for what the year ahead looks like. But our program is 100% in person. There's not a lot of opportunity for online learning. It's asked that you be in person. If there were class weekends you had to miss here or there, certainly understandable. You could work with the professors and with your team. But for the most part, everything is held in person. Great. Just a clarifying question on transcripts. So for the sake of your application, scanned copies of your transcript are fine. We only require that you provide official transcripts if you are admitted and choose to enroll. Um, Great. For question on current supervisor and getting them as a recommender, again, as I mentioned, if you're not able to get one from a current supervisor, you can certainly provide that written explanation. We have that in many instances. If you haven't worked with your current supervisor for very long, if they're too new to the organization, those are all very justified reasons for asking someone else. So I would recommend your most immediate past supervisor could be a good option. So um, those are all valid reasons for needing to get a recommendation from someone else. Great, a great question here, just about like the types of students and what makes them successful. So um, I would say, as I mentioned, we don't have a typical executive MBA student. We see success across the board. We see people from the arts, museum curators, music industry, English majors. So we've seen, again, success across all different industries and professions. But I would say a common characteristic across all of them is our students are very ambitious. They're committed to their education. They're willing to work with the other students in the class. They're participating in the classroom discussion. They're engaging with their faculty. They're joining for events and networking. So they're really getting as much out of the program as they put in is very much how we see it. So if you do join the program, I just recommend the 22 months goes by so quickly. I just recommend that you really take advantage of everything there is to offer at Stern. Great question on the rolling application process. So like I said, you can submit your application at any time up until the deadline. So for example, if you submit your application the beginning of February, it's typically a decision is released by the end of February. It's about a 3 to 4 week period for a decision. So we're already accepting and rendering decisions for the upcoming August start term and even for the following January. So you can submit your application at any time, even prior to the March 1st deadline. Great. For GPAs, this is a question we get quite often. We do not have a minimum GPA requirement. There is a part in the application where you can address if you feel your undergraduate performance if it's not reflective of who you are now. And that's really what we're looking for. We recognize that your GPA is a number you cannot change. And for many and most of our students, undergraduate was a number of years ago. So what we're really looking for is that you acknowledge that, and that you can speak to, who you are now, and that, it's not reflective of who you are now, and that perhaps your professional career is a lot more indicative of your performance in the program. Great. Questions on sponsorship. Um, we do have a sponsorship form you could complete. People complete this oftentimes to indicate if they're receiving any financial sponsorship. Financial sponsorship is not required. And like I said, most of our candidates are self-funding their executive MBA journey. But what is required, however, proof of this is not required, is the program does require time out of the office. So we encourage you to have that conversation with your employer. And, getting a letter of recommendation from a supervisor is very indicative of the fact that you've had that conversation. They recognize the commitment, because it does, like I said, it does require time out of the office for the Friday for class weekends, as well as the residency periods. So you don't have to submit that sponsorship form. It's just provided to help you have that conversation with your employer. Great. The pre-assessment. So this is just, again, you raising your hand, letting us know. It's a few basic questions, and submitting a resume. So what we're really looking from that, again, is the bachelor's degree and a minimum of 6 years work experience. If you by chance didn't have one or both of those, you could still reach out to our team. We're happy to review and see if you could be a good candidate, and a possible candidate for moving forward. Great. A great question here about the time commitment. So it certainly is a time commitment, as we talked about with the class weekends every other week, Friday, Saturday. But outside of that, how many hours per week are people spending on their executive MBA program? What we often hear from students is this can vary. It can vary based on the class that you're in. So perhaps you're a marketing professional and you're in marketing. You may breeze through that one a little bit faster, but you may need to spend a little bit more time in the finance or accounting courses. So it can vary in that regard. On average, students say they spend about 8 to 12 hours outside of the classroom, on executive MBA materials. So readings or assignments, or working with your study group, and however you navigate that. So some students get up early or stay up late, or dedicate one day per weekend, to focus on that. So there's a lot of different tactics that our students have used, to do that. But they say about 8 to 10 hours, or 8 to 12 hours per week outside of the classroom. Great question. For preparing for the interview, you can, like I said, it is a formal evaluative interview. What we're really looking to gain an understanding of is your experience and your motivations for pursuing an executive MBA program. We want to see how if you would be a good fit for the NYU Stern community. So having an understanding of Stern, and the culture and the values, I think is a good way. And then oftentimes people want to get a sense of what it's like to be part of the community. So joining us for these types of events to get a better understanding, or participating in some of the panel discussions and hearing from current students, or connecting with Stern graduates from your own network, just to learn a little bit more about the program. But the interview itself, we're going to look to learn a little bit more about you and who you are as a manager or leader. What are your short-term goals, short-term and long-term goals, and how does the executive MBA play a role in that? So like it also it lasts anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. It can be held by Zoom, or if you want, like, you're welcome to request an in-person interview as well. Great. A question here for military veterans. Yes, we have many in our executive MBA program. Um, Many who have already made the transition from um, the military to civilian work. Many who are in that process. Many who have been in the public or private sector for a bit, but just looking to continue advancing. So we have military veterans at various stages pursuing the executive MBA program. And we are a yellow ribbon school. So we can work with you in figuring out how to apply your VA benefits for financing. And we've actually, if you visit our YouTube channel, we did a veterans panel last year. So that might be a great resource for learning a little bit more about the resources available for veterans within the executive MBA program. And also happy to connect veterans with fellow veteran students. Great. Question here for standardized test scores. So we don't have a suggested GMAT, GRE, or executive assessment score. What we're looking for again is that if you do choose to take a test, I would make sure that you put in the time to study and prepare. But that's what we're looking for, is that academic preparedness for the program. There are also other ways to do that that is not necessarily has to be by a standardized test. MBA Math is a program that you can consider as well if you're looking to kind of finesse your quantitative preparedness or just get up to speed on that. Um, Great. So question here just about we have a number of MBA programs here at Stern. So most notably full-time, part-time, and executive MBA programs. The executive MBA program, um, we have we have the highest age and years of work experience required. So full-time is more intended for those that are looking to kind of launch into a career in business. It's you're not working simultaneously, and it's the full 2 years in the program. The the executive MBA and part-time programs can tend to attract more similar candidates. The part-time, it's a flexible program in that it's not structured with your courses in year one and your courses in year two. You're able to kind of schedule out your courses across anywhere from 2 to 6 years based on what works best for your schedule. Whereas the executive MBA program, you're starting in year one with a very specific cohort, and you're completing the program with that cohort of the course of 22 months. And it, like I said, does tend to have the highest years of work experience and average age. Great, a question here. So the way that the executive MBA program assesses, grades and performance is done on a pass fail. There are various ranges of pass fail. The biggest focus of the program and what the faculty work towards is to make sure that the students are grasping the material. So like I said, the faculty are really committed to the success of the students. They're willing to work with you in between class weekends. They hold study sessions. So there is a lot of support throughout the course of the program to help ensure that the students are grasping the material. But the grading is on a pass fail. The executive MBA program does not allow for prior coursework to be attributed, as it is a set course curriculum, and you're completing it with a specific cohort. You're not able to apply transfer credits, and it requires 60 credits to complete the degree. The program, it is 22 months straight, but you do have there is an off period in August. The calendar, it's outlined for the first year of the program on the website, and they do work the class weekend. So every other, like I said, the every other week, Friday, Saturday, it does work around the holidays, so that you're not in school on certain holidays. Um, Great questions for international students. So you can apply to for a visa. The Executive MBA program in New York is visa eligible, so you can work with our Office of Global Services for that. And then from there, you can also work with the financial aid team to understand what the loan process looks like for international students. Uh, Great. There have been so many great questions. Executive MBA, so in terms of the curriculum, so and the degree and being the same as full time. So the degree, like is the same degree that all of our MBA graduates are earning. It's an MBA in general management. The curriculum can vary slightly. What that means is our students are bringing in experience to the program. So the finance course may look a little different. The classroom discussion is going to look a little different based on the fact that these students are more advanced in their career. Whereas, in a full time, they're not bringing in the work experience typically to have that be part of the course discussion. So the curriculum really only varies. Like the foundations are still there, and what you're gaining is still there, but the makeup of the curriculum and the class discussion and things like that will look different. Great question for the admissions process. And if you needed to defer admission, we do allow deferrals. So if you're admitted, you can defer your admission up to a year. Anything after that would require a reapplication. But we can work with you if you needed to transfer from August to January and things like that, provided there's space available in the class at the time of doing that, we can work with you through those types of things. Great. Yeah. The question about counting some, undergraduate work experience and military experience counts towards work experience. Some PhD, like research, things like that, can count towards work experience. We've had a number of doctors with residency periods and things like that also counting. So if you're questioning whether or not there's experience that can contribute towards that work experience, I would just encourage you to submit that pre-assessment, and we could always reach out to you with clarifying questions if we needed. But I would encourage you to do that. Great. Yes, a great question about kind of evolution of the program and kind of where things change from year to year. The curriculum is definitely an area of this. So the faculty are evaluating the curriculum and what they're teaching each year, making sure they're teaching what's most relevant. And as things happen in the market or in the world of business, making sure they're bringing that into the classroom. So the faculty do determine the curriculum, but it is also evaluated regularly to make sure that they're teaching what's most relevant. Great. Faculty for executive MBA, so they can overlap with the full-time MBA. It really just depends on who has been invited to teach within the executive MBA program and is willing to do so. Um, there's a, a pretty extensive list of our current faculty on our website, so I would encourage you to go through that. There's really incredible professors. Also, we'll do a Q&A with a faculty member later this spring semester. So if you're able to attend that, that's another great opportunity for you to get to hear from a current faculty member. We've had two in the past, and those recordings are on our YouTube channel as well. But that's a great way to get to hear from faculty as well. And if you submit your pre-assessment and complete your interview, you're eligible to participate in class visits, and that's another great opportunity to get to see our faculty in action, as well as get to experience the program firsthand and connect with current students. Great. Um, So just to touch a little bit more on the global immersion experience. So it's the international residency. The whole cohort is traveling to the same destination. The faculty are selecting that destination based on what's going on in the global economy. And during that week, you're participating in company visits, you're meeting with business leaders, possibly working on strategies or presentations. Um, to get a better sense of what that week looks like, we do have two sample itineraries on our website, which kind of overview the week, the types of companies that the class visited. There is also time within the week for, individual exploration or going out and some cultural experiences and dinners on your own and with your classmates. So again, it's a really great opportunity to just get to better understand that market from a business perspective, but as well from understanding how the cultures and things play a role in business. Great. There's been tons of wonderful questions. I hope that I've gotten to as many as possible. If there were any questions that I haven't gotten to, please feel free to get in contact with our team directly. I'm posting our contact information again on the screen. It's been a pleasure getting to speak with everyone. I hope this has been really informative, and we encourage you to continue the conversation, submitting that pre-assessment, getting to know more about the program, joining us for other events. We'd love to keep the conversation going. And I appreciate all of your time today and all of the great questions and engagement. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.